from WWL Louisiana.
9 o'clock, good morning to you here on this Mardi Gras, very busy day as officials in Jefferson Parish have announced that Mardi Gras parades will be canceled tomorrow because of the wind. A press conference underway right now.
We're going to go now to Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang, who is at the podium getting ready to give us some updates on these cancellations.
As we stand by there, you can see that President Lee Shang is there with other officials from Jefferson Parish to talk more about their decision here. One that they, of course, did not take lightly. It came across late last night with 2 parades on the schedule to run in Jefferson Parish tomorrow. Let's listen in live.
I'm here with our Director of Emergency Management, Joe Valiente, and Donna Russo is head of our Citizens Affairs that really organizes all of our carnival season. Today we're here to discuss the severe weather and winds that are expected for tomorrow, Mardi Gras Day in 2025. So I'm just going to cut to the chase with the very disappointing news that I think you all have probably heard about already. We've been in communication with the National Weather Service, and tomorrow's weather, especially the gusty winds, is severe enough that we have no other choice but other than to cancel our scheduled parades for tomorrow. So tomorrow we were scheduled for the crew of Argus that actually had 20 units, and the Elks crew of Jeffersonians is the truck parade with 43 units. I want to first put this news into perspective, all right? Historically, during a severe weather or storm event, when we discuss wind speed and we discuss the ability to conduct our operations, our transit buses stop operating at 35 miles per hour. And even Entergy crews, their standard is they don't allow their employees to go up in bucket trucks until the winds are 30 miles per hour or less. All right. As you can see, the range of where we consider it dangerous and we bring in our people is around 30 to 35 miles per hour, right? The National Weather Service is reporting that confidence is high that we will experience gusty winds over 40 miles per hour and up to 60 miles per hour is possible, regardless of the storm development, that the winds, are going to be preceding the storm. And the timing of these winds also did not allow us to consider moving to an earlier parade time, as we were told that the winds are expected early in the morning as well. So let me state the obvious. These are not conditions where we would invite family, including the elderly and children, to stand on our streets out in the open. These are not conditions for people to be elevated on floats. God forbid having a float tip over and there's people on the street just under those floats. These are not safe conditions with the dangers of flying debris, whether it be tents, chairs, tarps. We know what parades look like. We have kids on ladders. We have maids with beautiful headdresses and big, beautiful headpieces. Even with our own work after tonight's parades, our crews will begin breaking down our equipment for the safety of everybody, including our own tents, our own electrical equipment, bringing down the portalets, our decorations. So I know this news is very, very disappointing. I know many, many people have planned, all year long for tomorrow, whether that be the captains and the crew members, the float riders, the royalty, and I know there are many, many scheduled parties for tomorrow. But Mother Nature just has decided not to work with us. And I remember telling our team just about 2 weeks ago, our emergency management team, that we started this year so strong. The region, the state, the city of New Orleans put on an incredible Super Bowl without incident, as best as it could possibly be. We rolled into our bicentennial, in the beginning of our bicentennial celebrations. And I remember telling them, let's finish strong with this Mardi Gras season. Let's get through this Mardi Gras season as safe as possible. And obviously, this decision is part of that, even if it means that we have to cancel the parades. So I want to remind everyone that we still have a lot of festivities today. We have Mardi Gras at 11 o'clock in Rivertown. That's where Argus meets Zulu. That's an incredible event. And then we have 2 more parades tonight, the crew of Centurions, followed by the crew of Kings with the traditional Metairie route, starting at Clearview. Okay? So you can get much more celebrations in today for your Mardi Gras season. We started discussions yesterday. We continued discussions with both ARCs and the Elks crew of Jeffersonians on discussing an alternative date, because we know their riders have paid. We know they all want to ride. So we will continue to be discussing an alternative date if they choose to do so. Okay? questions? Yes.
How soon do you think we can get a rescheduled date, or if any?
We're going to work with the crews. In the sheriff's office, I've talked to him. He's prepared to work with the crews. So it's really their operations, what kind of trucks they could get or the riders. I mean, that's their call. So I think, we all were frantically on the phone yesterday. It is very disappointing. But we did offer them an alternative date. We have the Irish Italian parade on Veterans scheduled, so there are some alternative options for us if they choose.
So hearing that can be concerning for some of the businesses that do rely on Fat Tuesday in Metairie. So do you have a message for them?
No, I mean, this is disappointing for all of us. This is history. I don't even know another time. We had to cancel 2021 during COVID, but none of us remember another time having to cancel, and it's frustrating. The next day is supposed to be a beautiful day, and today is a beautiful day. And to hear that the wind started in the morning, initially coming into this week, I thought, well, let's see, and maybe we can move the parade times. And it was just really, really disappointing to be on the call with the National Weather Service and hearing that the gusty winds are really expected all day. So it just took that alternative off the table for us of moving the parade time.
Cynthia,
Yes.
I know you've kind of already done it, but I know just people are going to ask, like, why couldn't they figure something else out? Why couldn't it roll just earlier in the day or something like that? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
As I said, we would, many years, in fact, a couple years ago, we moved to an earlier time. And again, starting the week, I thought, let's see how this weather plays out, and the confidence gets closer as to the day. And the hope was there that we could maybe move the time. But again, on the National Weather Service call, actually yesterday on the call, they said the winds start at sunrise. And weather changes, but yesterday's call, they actually used the word, gusty winds begin at sunrise. So that alternative of trying to change times, just like I said, was removed from the table for us.
Do you encourage people to head out to Zulu or anything tomorrow?
I encourage people to have their celebrations today. I don't know the latest on what other parishes are doing, but today's a beautiful day, and we know it's a safe day, and I know it's last minute, but try to get your Mardi Gras celebrations in today. And it's disappointing, it's discouraging, but we have to, especially in my position, I have to look at the safety first. We know what that parade route looks like. As I mentioned, when you think of parades, you think of children on ladders, you think of elderly people, and it is, when we heard the data, it wasn't even close. Our team, we all knew it without even saying anything. Like, we cannot do this with the wind gusts that are expected. So this wasn't a close call for us, and as disappointing as it is, it's not a difficult decision to make.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you all.
Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng wrapping a press conference now on the parish's decision to cancel Mardi Gras parades tomorrow because of the wind. We have no other choice, a direct quote from President Sheng. Despite it being disappointing and discouraging, the wind gusts, the potential for heavy winds, too high for them to get those parades rolling.
Yeah, you heard her talk about this. She has to think about public safety first.
Right.
And it's not just for parade riders in those floats, but also spectators along the parade routes, their safety in mind as well. So it all kind of comes together. I guess the good news from this is they are trying to look at rescheduling these parades, not cancel them outright. That's going to be up to the individual crews to decide if there's a date that works for them, as well as the parish, to actually make these things roll, because we're running right now into St. Patrick's Day, so we have celebrations that are going to be happening there as well.
Most definitely a no-brainer, according to President Lee Sheng, on making sure that the public is safe here. Also saying, though, that crews will be out tonight breaking down equipment along the routes there, particularly along Vets and whatnot, where the parades do roll in Metairie, because you don't want the potential for any projectiles, too. So that's how seriously they're taking it here in Jefferson Parish, urging families, too, to stay inside. They don't want people out in bad conditions, that is, but ultimately go out and celebrate the day how you choose to do so.
Yeah, because they build these reviewing stands and these electrical apparatus to help with the lighting and everything. And you heard Cynthia Lee Sheng say that they consider dangerous winds to be 30 to 35 miles an hour. We're going to be in that, if not a little bit above and higher. Now, these changes are also happening in Terrebonne Parish as well. They haven't canceled the parades down there yet, but because of the weather tomorrow, the crew of Homas will now roll at 11:30. That's an hour ahead of their original start time, which was 12:30. That will then be followed by the crew of Cajuns.
Right now, though, let's get over to meteorologist Peyton Malone, who's got the very latest on the forecast. Peyton, again, President Lee Sheng saying that they had no other choice here. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. When I saw the data coming in this weekend, I've seen what they've done. This happened back in 2020 with Muses. They had to adjust that one because of the winds, and they said when they saw the numbers, they said, well, we don't have an option. We've got to do it. Terrebonne officials, if I have any advice for if anyone's watching, if you can push the parades even earlier, that would be better, because if you're trying to avoid the winds by 11 a.m. are already going to be approaching 40 miles an hour. So we're going to be in the thick of the winds fairly early. Now, the morning hours, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., we're still gusting to around 25, but they're going to steadily increase as we go through the morning and afternoon. And then the worst of the winds are likely in the middle of the afternoon, where we see winds gusting 40 to maybe 50 miles an hour. We certainly could see 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts in any open areas, any areas near water where you just don't have a lot of land friction. And keep in mind, these are southerly winds, so any parade routes that run west to east, you got that southerly wind pushing directly on the floats, and that's a big concern here. Now, the rain tomorrow, wind's just one component. We are not expecting big rain in the morning or even the early afternoon. So yeah, I know a lot of people, we're still going to go out and have a great day tomorrow, regardless of what parades are rolling. The rain is not going to be a factor for the morning plans, and even through the early afternoon, we don't have much rain here locally. Now, the storm chances will increase later in the afternoon, going up until around, I think the majority of the storms are rolling through New Orleans Metro and like St. Tammany around 5, 6, 7 p.m. Somewhere in that time frame is when we likely have severe storms, and there is a risk for severe storms here. So once again, the winds are the big problem right now for floats. Even with our morning parades. Now, I want to walk you through it. This is at 9 a.m. We're seeing winds gust 25 to 30 miles an hour. Still kind of okay, but things are going downhill as those winds pick up. Here we are at 11 a.m. We're already seeing winds gust 35 to 40 miles an hour, even higher back to the west. So if you're heading west for Mardi Gras, maybe to Baton Rouge, Lafayette, or Lake Charles, there's no improvements there. The winds are going to be even sooner out there. And so it's windy all across the south here, whether you're in Mississippi or Louisiana. All Mardi Gras events are going to be affected tomorrow here in our area. Now, this is at 1 and 2 o'clock. Winds really get cranking here ahead of the main storm line. We could be gusting 40 to 50 miles an hour through the early afternoon. And then once we get into the late afternoon and evening, the winds start to come down after the storms come through. So this is when the storms arrive, and then behind that, things finally settle down. But unfortunately, we're just timing this out completely wrong. If we could push it all back 12 hours, that would be great, but just doesn't look like that's going to happen. Those storms, again, are going to come in later in the day. So here locally, we're just windy and warm and humid through your Mardi Gras morning. Here we are afternoon. Couple showers trying to work in as we go into the early afternoon, but your bigger thunderstorms are just developing out to our west around 2 and 3 o'clock. These storms could mature fairly quickly, and keep in mind, there's a tremendous amount of inflow into these thunderstorms. That's one ingredient you need for tornadoes, and that's why a few of these could produce tornadoes tomorrow afternoon. Here we are at 5 o'clock. We could have some pretty strong cells moving across, or storm cells moving across the region. Here we are at 7 o'clock. Storms lined up across us, and then they eventually push through by around, let's say, we'll probably give the arc clear by 10 o'clock tomorrow evening, setting us up for a much nicer Ash Wednesday. That risk for severe weather, we do have a level 3 out of 5 risk north of I-12 here. That hatched area you see there with the little lines, that's a hatched for strong tornadoes. And so we could see a few strong tornadoes in the area. Now, don't get hung up on that line, because there will be a risk for tornadoes on both sides of the lake, whether it's strong or not. A tornado is a tornado. We're going to have a lot of people out and about, even in the evening hours. I know we have some lingers. There will probably be 1 or 2 storms that could try to rotate. It all clears out by Wednesday. Thursday's good. If we have anything going on this weekend, and we do have Barkus on Sunday, was supposed to roll last Sunday. Well, now it's rescheduled, so that's rolling Sunday here. It looks dry for that, but I got a couple showers on Saturday. Doesn't look like a significant weather system, but it may be a tad breezy Saturday, and then trending drier and still breezy on Sunday. But Barkus, we don't have big old floats rolling there in Barkus. So for tomorrow, winds all day long. They will steadily pick up. Worst winds are in the early afternoon. The storms are going to be late afternoon, evening, so think around sunset, and then things improve, guys. And as we head into the weekend here, we'll watch for some of that rain, particularly on Saturday, looking better as we head into Sunday.
All right, of course, we're still waiting to hear if anything happens in New Orleans Parish with the 2 parades set to roll tomorrow. That, of course, Zulu and Rex. Right now, we have heard that Rex is planning to move forward. That could change, but as of right now, they're planning to move ahead of schedule.
Certainly, you can make the deduction, however, after hearing the process by which officials in Jefferson Parish went by making this really tough decision. You got to imagine that officials in Orleans Parish are weighing their options this morning to figure out what to do. And again, officials do understand that this is not an easy decision to make, considering all the money that is tied into these crews and the plans that have been made for Mardi Gras Day.
And that's why they'd rather postpone them as
Right.
opposed to canceling them. Of course, I'm sure there have been a lot of talks this morning, if not even yesterday, between the crews and the city to determine what to do. And we may get an update pretty soon.
But with that, you know, no parades in Jefferson Parish tomorrow, but President Lee Sheng urging folks to have a good
Have fun
time
today.
today.
Yeah.
Got a lot of events going on. Download the WWL Parade Tracker app. It'll fill you in if you've got questions there too. So good weather today. Tomorrow, though, again, the concern with that wind starting pretty early, according to Peyton, and intensifying as the day progresses. Jefferson Parish officials saying they had no other choice but to cancel those parades.
And of course, keep up with us online as well as later newscasts for any updates that develop throughout the day in regards to possible cancellations and postponements.
We'll see you right back here live at noon.